everybody, and welcome to my garage. This is episode 11 in this series of reflooring the entire floor in our house. So in this episode, you'll see some tips and steps of what I did to install the new baseboard. So I'll show you how I installed it, how I go back and fill all the nail holes and prep it for basically being finished. As I put the trim back up, the first thing I'm going to do is measure and cut the trim for around the doorways, and that's because the base trim has to go up to the edge of the doorway. So what I did is I measure from the bottom up to about right where that paint line is, because that's where the top of the side molding should go. I measure and do the same on the other side. And I gotta tell you, every one of these doors are not plumb. They're all off or shifted a little bit. The builder did not put in any shims. The doors just came, I think, pre-assembled. They popped them in. They probably leveled them really quickly, but they're not perfect. And when I say not perfect, I'm talking like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch different from one side to the next. So what I did is I took the longer or higher measurement, and that's what I'll cut both sides as. So this way, when I put the top piece of trim on, it'll be plumb and level across the top. Now, it may not be level from here to here, meaning like here there might be 1/8 of an inch of wood, and over here there might be 1/4 of an inch of wood. But once you caulk it and paint it, that won't be that noticeable. But at least the top piece will sit plumb on the two vertical pieces. So what I did is I went around and I measured all the doors, and I wrote down that measurement that I'm going to cut that door at. And again, all the doors are not the same. You can see this one's 80 inches and 3/4. The front door over here is 81 and 1/8 inch. And the closet door here is 80 and 1/2 inches. So what that did is that allowed me to pre-measure everything, and then I could just go out with all the wood and measure it, where it's going to be cut for each door, and just wham, wham, bam, 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 slam out all the cuts in a couple minutes, and then I'll mark each piece for what doorway it's for. So this is going to be the 80 and 3/4 pieces that I cut. I'll mark with laundry room. The 81 and 1/8 over here, I'll mark with front door, and so on. So that's just one. Once I'm done painting and I'm going to actually assemble all the framing, it makes it a lot easier to figure out which one goes where without lining up or remeasuring them. So I have quite a few doorways to do here. I've got the master bedroom, I've got the powder room, I've got the basement door, the laundry room, the front door, the hall coat closet, and then this way we've got the pantry, and we've got the back door that goes out to the deck. And the powder room door is actually the outside and the inside I'm going to replace. The inside's going to be a slightly more narrow trim. So out here I'm doing like a 3-inch trim, straight trim, and in here it's going to be a 2 or 2.5 inch straight trim. And the reason is that this outlet is so close. If I do a wide trim, it'll butt up against this outlet, and that's just not good craftsmanship. So I'll do the inside a slightly more narrow trim. You won't be able to tell the difference from the inside to the outside. Hey, I'm installing baseboard on. So once the baseboard was all painted, a couple coats and dried, I now will nail the baseboard to the wall. A little trick that I did, or I should say that I do, that saves me a little bit of time and ensures the best connection possible, is I use my stud finder. I go along and I mark all the studs with a piece of painting tape. So this way I know when I'm going to nail that baseboard up, it's going to get the best connection because I'm going into a stud. So that's where I determined to nail it. And it goes really quick. Takes a minute or two to mark them, but I can literally connect this piece of baseboard in like about 20 seconds. Except for crawling around curtains and squeezing in behind the bed.
And that's how it goes.
Hey, now that I have all the holes countersunk, the next step is to actually fill the holes. I like to use this product called, let me hear, it's called Plastic Wood by DAP, Plastic Wood X actually. So it starts out pink, and this isn't real pink because I've had it open to the air, because as it dries a more natural color. So here you could see where, you know, I filled it and it's still kind of pink, and where it's dried, it turns a tan, or, you know, like a wood color. The reason I like this product is that it's water soluble. So you could either sand it smooth, or you could use like a damp rag to wet sand it, and it will take off any excess material. And that's really nice for when you're doing the holes, because the wet sanding will wipe all this off. It'll leave it in the hole, and you know, this way you don't have to sand and take any of the paint that's already on the woodwork off. So it allows you to do it a little cleaner, you know, not a lot of sanding dust, things like that. And I gotta tell you, I'm not claiming to be a master carpenter by any means. So when I cut a lot of this trim, the corners maybe didn't have a tight fit, both the outside corners and the inside corners. So typically you would use caulk to fill that in, and then, you know, touch up paint. But I like to use this product first because it dries a lot harder than caulk. So if the gap is a little wider than I would have really liked it, it allows that to fill up with a harder or more firm product. So again, I'll come back after this dries and lightly sand it, either wet sand it or dry sand it. Corners, I'll probably dry sand just so I get a nice sharp edge on it. But I'll do that, and then I'll go back with a second pass if it's needed anywhere. And, you know, if there's a gap that maybe some shrinkage occurred. That's the other nice thing, I guess I should say, is this doesn't really shrink much when it dries, so it's really good for filling larger gaps. It dries pretty solid with minimal shrinkage. So how do I fill the holes? You just get some on a little spatula and smoosh it into the hole, as so, and scrape off as much of the excess as you can. But again, I'm not too worried about it, because I'll go back later with some sandpaper or a damp rag and sand that down to get a smooth finish, or really close to a smooth finish. Hey, it's me again. One thing I didn't really capture on video for this step is the actual final finishing of the baseboard. So once I filled the putty holes, sanded them down a little bit so that they were nice and smooth, I did go back and tape off areas with some paper paint guard, and just do a final light coat of paint over, in most cases, the entire baseboard. Again, that's just to cover up the fill marks from the nail holes, to cover up any of the fills I might have put into the outside corners and inside corners. You know, if there were any mars or issues with the baseboard that I found when I was installing them and I had to sand them down again, I did go back and put a final light coat of paint on with a roller, a brush and a roller, you know, depending what was easier for where I was painting. Just wanted to make sure I explained to you that I did that, because I didn't capture it on video. So that's it, and I hope you're enjoying this. This series is almost over.